Good evening and welcome to the first episode of Tickbox 1, your show for sports talk worldwide. Today we are delighted to have some guests from the Caribbean for boxing. We're talking boxing today, of course. But first of all, I would like to thank my main sponsors for today's episode, Steamboat's Fast Food from Hillsborough in Caracou, Grenada. That's how far our tentacles have reached, and I'm hoping that some other Caribbean people will join on board. As I said, we're talking boxing today, and I have with me some elite or royalty in presidents, Caribbean presidents. And seeing that the Olympics just ended, I thought it wise that we start our initial programming with these men who have carried Caribbean boxing for years. First of all, let's welcome from Guyana. I like to call him the minister, but I know he'll get there soon anyway. Mr. Steve Ninvale, who is the present director of sport in Guyana. He's due for a promotion just now, by the way. He's also president of the Guyana Boxing Association. He is a vice president of the Guyana Olympic Association. He is also a former IBA executive member and also a vice president of the AMBC. Lots of titles to go along with lots of work. Welcome, Mr. Ninvale. We also have Richard Atwell, president of Barbados Boxing Association. David Christopher, president of the St. Lucia Boxing Association. And also a VP of the St. Lucia Olympic Association. Fellows with a lot of clout. Also my president from Trinidad, Cecil Forde. He is long-standing and I would say experienced president, probably the most experienced president in the region. And I'm also welcoming Daniel Edouard from Haiti, a guy I got to know very well, Haitian team manager, coach, and former boxer. Gentlemen, welcome to Tickbox 1. We're here this morning to tick some boxes. And the first box we want to tick is the Olympics are now over, or the Olympic qualification is now over. We have not qualified one boxer from our Caribbean countries. In the last few years, we've been, I would say, fortunate to qualify one, Trinidad, I think Guyana last time, Trinidad in the last 3 years. So I'll start with you, Mr. Ninvale. I must start with the minister. What went wrong? Just tell me what went wrong. And you could tell me that in the context of Guyana.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for having me on this program. It's a distinct pleasure for me. And let me say good day to all of my colleagues within the Caribbean. I know this group that you have here is a hard-working group. They've put their shoulders to the wheel, and we have tried in each of our own locations. We've tried very hard to see how much we can develop the sport of boxing. Now, I think the question would be, what continues to go wrong? Because of the fact that this has to be a recurring decimal that happens within the Caribbean. And I would want to start off by making a point which I think is very salient. The fact that in the entire CARICOM, there's only one medal that has been won at the Olympics in boxing, and that is Michael Paris in 1980. No other Caribbean territory, no other CARICOM territory has an Olympic medal, right? So within the entire Caribbean, CARICOM, we have one medal at boxing. As I said recently, I think that a governmental focus needs to be placed on the sport of boxing. And when I say this, I mean collectively. When Trinidad would have hosted the Caribbean Championships, I think it was in 2019, this is something that I said too in my opening remarks. It seems that boxing needs to have energy from the top, energy from the center, and energy from the ground. It cannot be that we go to the Olympics or the Olympic trials, not even the Olympic trials, and we don't have one person qualifying. That says that we are not up to standard with the rest of the world. We are not up to standard. And I think that it now calls for a decision to be made by governments on how, just like the decision is made with cricket, on how we get boxing back on its footing. It is not,
Steve
it is
Ninvale.
crying, it is hurt, it is down for.
Mr. Forde, you have had the pleasure of having 3 consecutive Olympians qualify. What would your take be? What went wrong with Trinidad qualification this time around? Cecil will have to unmute. All right, David, what about you until we get Cecil?
First of all, let me congratulate you, my brother James, King James, and I call you, for initiating this new program. It gives us a voice that we can speak, a voice that we can be heard, and a voice and a face that we can be seen by persons around the world, because this program will eventually go around the world. As long as stream is on the, it will be going around the world. I want to agree with Steve, because Steve said it right. Steve said it right. I can add or minus or stop that, but I can multiply what Steve said, you know. We in St. Lucia, we didn't send anybody to the qualifiers because, you know, our program is a rebuilding program right now. We have a few elite boxers, but we didn't think it had worth the investment to send them to that qualifier. Being one, the preparation, two, the level and the atmosphere of boxing presently in the region. These guys is not boxing the way they're supposed to be boxing. And we're more focusing on our youth development. We just came out of the Champion of Champions, and we prepare right now for the OECS, where we're working with the OECS Commission. So we didn't send anybody to the qualifier. We had one boxer from England that wanted to go, but last minute preparation and the funding, which is hurting a lot of us in the region,
welcome to the first episode of Tickbox 1, your show for sports talk worldwide. Today we are delighted to have some guests from the Caribbean for boxing. We're talking boxing today, of course. But first of all, I would like to thank my main sponsors for today's episode, Steamboat's Fast Food from Hillsborough in Caracou, Grenada. That's how far our tentacles have reached, and I'm hoping that some other Caribbean people will join on board. As I said, we're talking boxing today, and I have with me some elite or royalty in presidents, Caribbean presidents. And seeing that the Olympics just ended, I thought it wise that we start our initial programming with these men who have carried Caribbean boxing for years. First of all, let's welcome from Guyana. I like to call him the minister, but I know he'll get there soon anyway. Mr. Steve Ninvale, who is the present director of sport in Guyana. He's due for a promotion just now, by the way. He's also president of the Guyana Boxing Association. He is a vice president of the Guyana Olympic Association. He is also a former IBA executive member and also a vice president of the AMBC. Lots of titles to go along with lots of work. Welcome, Mr. Ninvale. We also have Richard Atwell, president of Barbados Boxing Association. David Christopher, president of the St. Lucia Boxing Association. And also a VP of the St. Lucia Olympic Association. Fellows with a lot of clout. Also my president from Trinidad, Cecil Forde. He is long-standing and I would say experienced president, probably the most experienced president in the region. And I'm also welcoming Daniel Edouard from Haiti, a guy I got to know very well, Haitian team manager, coach, and former boxer. Gentlemen, welcome to Tickbox 1. We're here this morning to tick some boxes. And the first box we want to tick is the Olympics are now over, or the Olympic qualification is now over. We have not qualified one boxer from our Caribbean countries. In the last few years, we've been, I would say, fortunate to qualify one, Trinidad, I think Guyana last time, Trinidad in the last 3 years. So I'll start with you, Mr. Ninvale. I must start with the minister. What went wrong? Just tell me what went wrong. And you could tell me that in the context of Guyana.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for having me on this program. It's a distinct pleasure for me. And let me say good day to all of my colleagues within the Caribbean. I know this group that you have here is a hard-working group. They've put their shoulders to the wheel, and we have tried in each of our own locations. We've tried very hard to see how much we can develop the sport of boxing. Now, I think the question would be, what continues to go wrong? Because of the fact that this has to be a recurring decimal that happens within the Caribbean. And I would want to start off by making a point which I think is very salient. The fact that in the entire CARICOM, there's only one medal that has been won at the Olympics in boxing, and that is Michael Paris in 1980. No other Caribbean territory, no other CARICOM territory has an Olympic medal. Right? So within the entire Caribbean, CARICOM, we have one medal at boxing. As I said recently, I think that a governmental focus needs to be placed on the sport of boxing. And when I say this, I mean collectively. When Trinidad would have hosted the Caribbean Championships, I think it was in 2019, this is something that I said too in my opening remarks. It seems that boxing needs to have energy from the top, energy from the center, and energy from the ground. It cannot be that we go to the Olympics or the Olympic trials, not even the Olympic trials, and we don't have one person qualifying. That says that we are not up to standard with the rest of the world. We are not up to standard. And I think that it now calls for a decision to be made by governments on how, just like a decision is made with cricket, on how we get boxing back on its footing. It is not,
Steve
it is
Ninvale.
crying, it is hurt, it is down for.
Mr. Forde, you have had the pleasure of having 3 consecutive Olympians qualify. What would your take be? What went wrong with Trinidad qualification this time around? Cecil, have to unmute. All right, David, what about you until we get Cecil?
First of all, let me congratulate you, my brother James, King James, I like to call you, for initiating this new program. It gives us a voice that we can speak, a voice that we can be heard, and a voice and a face that we can be seen by persons around the world, because this program will eventually go around the world. As long as stream is on the, it will be going around the world. I want to agree with Steve, because Steve said it right. Steve said it right. I can add or minus or stop back, but I can multiply what Steve said, you know. We in St. Lucia, we didn't send anybody to the qualifiers because, you know, our program is a rebuilding program right now. We have a few elite boxers, but we didn't think it had worth the investment to send them to that qualifier. Being one, the preparation, 2, the level and the atmosphere of boxing presently in the region. These guys is not boxing the way they're supposed to be boxing. And we're more focusing on our youth development. We just came out of the Champion of Champions, and we prepare right now for the OECS, where we're working with the OECS Commission. So we didn't send anybody to the qualifier. We had one boxer from England that wanted to go, but last minute preparation and the funding, which is hurting a lot of us in the region, we take an 8 count on that. But I really applaud the countries, the family who went out. And it was sad to see that we didn't qualify one boxer. I think Haiti get the closest, and I really applaud those who went out but didn't qualify. But Steve said it all. We need to take a deep look, microscope, telescope. We got to do something different, because it cannot be business as usual. We going, and then we're not qualifying and we're not competing with the rest of the world. So on that note, I want to applaud those who went out and didn't qualify, because it was a rough going, but we didn't send anybody, but it's work in progress. Work in progress.
Again,
that's my take on the Olympics.
Okay, great. Again, remember today's episode is sponsored by Steamboat Fast Foods of Caracou in Grenada. Shout out to Lyle. Richard, you would have had a number of your athletes, in fact some of your well-known athletes like Kimberly and the try not just to qualify, not just to qualify at one event, but they went to, I think, 3. What about you? What do you think went wrong?
The challenges that we continue to have, I think, is, you know, the traditional touring,
Atwell, Barbados.
To get to some major tournaments, to give our athletes the opportunities actually to improve themselves and the skills. The other thing is actually scheduling for one particular athlete in terms of getting time to train. That was a challenge. Timing, planning, and tactics. I think we made some kind of tactical errors in certain areas that actually let us down. I think we had the opportunity to actually qualify in Pan Am. I think we were one boat away from qualifying. I can't remember if it was Jabali or one of them, but they didn't get that. No, they didn't get that. They didn't take the chance, or they didn't go their way. But some errors were made at our end, challenging in terms of financing, and then planning. Also, one of the major things that we have not only in boxing, I think we'll focus on a lot in sports, is the mental side of the game. Mental trainer and mental fitness, which is sports psychology, is not really, hasn't been pushed for years in terms of getting the athletes in the right mindset, and that winning mindset actually has been lacking. We've been actually trying to source sports psychologists for a while locally. They either seem to be scarce or we haven't got on it yet.
All right. Well, what I have seen from my outlook, I have been to like maybe 5 of the qualifiers, in fact, and as an observer and also as an evaluator, I have seen the promise and so on. But what I have not seen is that drive. In some ways, we're matching the skills, but what we're not matching is, of course...
You see, at the end of the day, you have to know how to win.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know how you guys will think about it, but for me, it was more a lack of tactical, I'm not throwing things on the coaches, but it was more a lack of tactics more than anything else for me. Okay? I see Forde is on now. So I'll ask Mr. Forde, as soon as he unmutes, you have to touch the microphone that you see there, Mr. Forde. Your boxers went a long way, went to all the qualifiers and so on. What do you think went wrong along the way? You have to unmute Forde. All right, Forde getting some problems, technical problems. Let's move on, as you mentioned there just now, and that's one of the reasons I brought Daniel into the conversation, because Haiti would have gotten the furthest. They had 2 boxers in the actual box-off. They were like 1 win away from qualification, and they both had good chances. I thought the girl threw away her chances, but however, they still got there, and they got there with limited resources. In fact, none of the Haitian boxers who ended up that far had their own coaches there or their own managers or anything like that. They just came and they had other coaches second them, like from Canada and the USA and so on. So Edouard, enlighten us. What is your story? If you can get that close and the rest of us losing in one bout, we go and lose in one bout, except for probably the guy from Guyana who won 1 bout, and I thought he was in the second one also. So tell us your secret, Ali Koch.
Well, first of all, I want to salute everyone, especially you, Mr. James, for putting this together, bringing us together, because this is one of the major issues I feel within all of our islands, is us coming together in solidarity so we can understand each other's issues and problems, so we can find a better solution. Being all of our islands are kind of, smaller and remote. But as for Haiti, we have a pretty big population of, 10, 11 million, 50% of them under the age of 25, and a huge diaspora. For me, this past Olympic qualifier, I feel what was the major loss was myself. My health was not good, and usually we have a training camp to bring all the boxers together so we can all get to know each other and really learn the strengths and weaknesses of the boxers. But unfortunately, I was unable to do that. Being all of our fighters are pretty much one in France, one in Canada, one here in the U.S. But it was very difficult for me to be able to do that because of my health conditions. But I feel that if we would have done that, one of our boxers would have qualified. But moving to the actual Haiti itself, unfortunately, because of the insecurity, as you witnessed yourself when you came down, since that time, since 2019, the insecurity has been very, 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 very high in Haiti. So it's been unfortunate that our boxers there have not been able to travel. They haven't been able to train properly. Getting visas has been a major issue for the boxers actually in Haiti. But for the ones that went, prepared properly. Most of these boxers, when they go to this tournament, they're not prepared mentally for the big, the big, just the whole ambiance. It's a lot. Even me, when I went for the first time, I was floored because it's so massive. So I feel that's one of the issues that really affect our fighters, is not being prepared mentally for that, as one of the other guys was saying. But yeah, that was my take on everything. I'm hoping that we can kind of move forward with it and get better.
All right, okay, that's great. Gentlemen, we have a short break, just about 30 seconds, and we'll get back on this same topic. I'm hoping also to sort out this problem with Mr. Forde. I think he's back. So as soon as we come back, I'll hear from Cecil.
It's an ocean of love. All that we align up to the stars up above. Let we dance now.
Okay, Mike.
Take a chance now with me. And we go down till morning. Look, the moon gone sleeping. Tell them we not leaving till the last drop of a canal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Play with all my friends and them. No place.
Hi, I am Nigel Coutier.
Hi, I'm Jemima Joseph.
And I'm Jovan Paulette.
We are coming to a community near you. We're going to speak community talk. We want to hear your issues, your concerns, or what will improve your community.
Look out for us. We'll be coming soon, Nigel and myself, to your community to hear in whatever way we can do to improve your environment, be it employment, infrastructure, anything to improve your living as well as our own.
Catch us on NCBNTT television for Community Talk.
Change on TV to the sound wave and stay calm, be cool.
One, two?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm Steve David, and I'm your host. Today I talk football as usual.
And I have with me Linda Bramble, welcome to the set. Michael Raghunath, welcome to the set. George Jefferson, George Anthony Clark, welcome to the set. That's Dwight DeLeon. The president of the SSFL, Mariri Gonzalez. Mariri, welcome to the set. Leroy DeLeon, welcome to the set, Leroy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night. And NCBNTT, thanks for the opportunity.
Trinbago Heritage, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on NCBNTT Television Network.
And we had a wonderful discussion prior to the break. I wanted to invite Cecil Forde in. I think he got his microphone because he is so important to this discussion. Cecil, you're back with us? All right, seems as though he hasn't gotten it under control yet. Getting back to you, Mr. Ninvale, you mentioned before about the governmental approach. We have some countries that are supported by their respective governments, and then we have some who are supported by the Olympic committees and so on. What do you think would be the better approach when it comes to handling this? And you can, if you want, you can speak about Guyana, but also probably blending a little in about a Caribbean approach.
Could you go over that question, because I may have missed a couple of what you're saying. You went off a little. Could you please go over the question?
I said you mentioned before about the governmental approach, that it should be a governmental approach, perhaps all governments of the Caribbean. But we have some of the associations that are supported by government and some that are supported mainly by the Olympic committees. What do you think would be the right approach for the associations in general? And you can do it, you can answer that as it pertains to Guyana, and you can also answer that as it pertains to the Caribbean.
Well, I think that the government will take precedence over any association, whether it's the Olympic Association, it's the Boxing Association, it's FIFA or what. In every given country, the government is the authority. And that is why I said that, you know, in my own personal capacity, and this is in the capacity of Steve Ninvale, that I think if there's a joining of heads right across the Caribbean region, then we can better understand how we can develop boxing as a region, because the issue that is affecting us is that we have no one qualifying. And this is not only qualifying for the Olympics, right? Because the Olympics alone is not boxing, or it's not about boxing. There's also the World Championship, which we barely had Trinidad Michael Paul coming away with a bronze medal at the World Championship. So we are failing at the Olympics. At qualifying for the Olympics, we are failing also at the World Championships. We scrape sometimes when there is a Commonwealth Games and Pan American Games and so forth. So again, as a region, we have an issue. And if we don't speak to each other at a high level at the region, then this problem, issue, whatever you want to call it, will continue. So my basic suggestion is that government need to start speaking on boxing so that we can have a collaborative approach to get us out of the abyss, for want of a better word.
My problem with the Caribbean, and I see Forde raising his hand. Cecil, all you have to do is unmute so that we can start hearing you. I think you're clicking on the wrong thing. Don't click on the hand, click on the microphone that you're seeing there. And as soon as you click on it and you get through, then I'll let you in. My big problem, and I have related this to many of the Caribbean presidents and so on, is the fact that I think our coaching leaves a lot to be desired. I know I'll get a lot of stick for this from the coaches. And on one of the programs, I'm going to bring our coaches on together with coaches from abroad and see how they mesh. But at the moment, sometimes we have very good boxers who attend these championships, and I think they lose not on ability, I think they lose on the tactics that are being used by the coaches, if any at all. And I always mention the fact that I was at ringside once in a bout where one country's coach was telling a female boxer, this was their coaching, this was their tactics, and telling the boxer, do something, do something. You understand? I see Forde is on now. Yeah, Forde, I'm hearing you. The question to you is, and I'm asking you the same question I asked the others. You qualified 3 boxers consecutively for 3 Olympics. This one, we were nowhere close. What went wrong?
Alright, sorry about that. I had a little problem, a little technical problem, but I'm on.
Alright, okay.
Right, yeah, I'm on now, and I'm glad that I've been following what you guys have been saying, right?
Yes. And what's your take?
What I would like to say is that we have been able for the past 3 Olympics, right, to qualify a boxer, right? Our program was what allowed it to happen, right? Because one of the things that we have been saying for the longest while in the Caribbean is that in order for our boxers, elite boxers, to perform at the highest level, right, where we can qualify a boxer for the Olympics, we have to box with quality boxers. Right now, in the Caribbean, we have been more or less looking forward to having our Caribbean championships, which is good, right? But if we don't box with people like Puerto Rico, people like Ecuador, people like Colombia, if you see all these countries were able to qualify 1 or 2 boxers, Brazil. So our focus has been on boxing with these countries, doing living camp to them, so that our boxers could develop and to be able to box at the highest level. Now, with professional boxers being allowed to come to the games, it's going to make it even more difficult for us. Because at this last Mr. Beckles will tell you, we had 600 boxers, professional boxers included, right? And we were fighting for 52 spots. Now, where is the Caribbean in that? When we go to these tournaments, the other boxers have 200 fights, 150 fights. Our boxers are going there with 7 and 10 and 15 fights. We have to expand our capacity. Right? For example, we just came back from Puerto Rico with our youth team, right? And they were able in 3 weeks' time to get 6 fights. Right? In the Caribbean, if we stay home here, we have 1 fight a month. Right? And then that is not giving us the capacity
that is necessary for us to be on the world stage, gentlemen. This is what I see, and this is what we in Trinidad have been saying for the longest while.
Thank you, Mr. Forde.
Right, gentlemen?
Thank you very much, Mr. Forde. Again, this episode is sponsored by Steamboat Fast Food of Carriacou in Grenada for the best food in Carriacou. So if you live in Grenada or Carriacou, please visit Steamboat Fast Foods, ask for Lyle and tell him that Beckles sent you. You need a good meal, go to Steamboat Fast Food. On the point,
Mr. Beckles, if I can just jump in.
Yes, please.
Just a few seconds here. It brings us back. I think it brings us back to, again, Mr. Forde spoke about having these boxes exposed to high-level competition and so forth. How does that happen? The elephant in the room remains money. It's funding. Where do you get that funding from? Government is your best partner in order to get that funding. Hence the need for us to have an overreaching governmental a conference that would deal with boxing. Because in order for us to have 7 or our boxes be exposed to, listen, in Guyana every month we have on the 16 program or 2 on the 16 competitions. That has been heavily propped up by the government of Guyana. Of course, we have a sponsor in DDL, but this is heavily propped up by the government of Guyana. And that allows for our young boxers to be exposed to competition on a continuous basis and on a frequent basis. But then again, we want to have some international flavor here and there, thereby we invite people, but that can only happen if you have funding.
I agree, and that's why I mentioned before when I asked you the question. I mentioned that Mr. Forde, you need to mute. You need to mute your mic. Right, Forde, you need to mute your mic.
James, if I can add something, thank you, Cecil, for that insight. Basically, the power of Trinidad. Quality competition definitely must. Also, I would add to that, I think we also need to focus on the weaknesses and strength of our boxers also before they actually go into these competitions and start doing some corrections. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down, when the rubber meets the road, you're going to have to rely on your basics actually get through. And in terms of lack of competition, as you know, Barbados will suffer pretty hardly for that. We got less than 300,000 people on the island. So we also have that struggle. And going back to what Steve said in terms of funding, we have now seen governmental support coming through from our national supporting organization, which is government side that actually funds sports. But we have to actually put the case going to go to the World Caribbean for conference, the challenges that boxers are facing in terms, which is we just mentioned of them not having enough competition, while the coaching, so that played a bit. And actually take a whole package of challenges.
Yeah, Forde, you need to mute your mic. Sorry about that, Richard.
I want to make another
and then
yeah, just a second, Forde.
Right?
Just a second, Forde.
Now, when I spoke just now, I talked about high performance, elite athletes, right? But we have to have a nursery, right, in order to develop to the level that we want. Right now, Mr. Ninvale has been promoting for the last 6 years schoolboys and junior tournament, right? If you look at our youth team now, developed from that, right? And they are here now, and they will be the ones that going forward to the next cycle, right? And the support that Mr. Ninvale has been getting with the other Caribbean countries to attend to that tournament, which is so important, have not been what should supposed to be. You have 3 and 4 countries going, right? Then you have now that St. Lucia has come on with the champion of champions, right? This is the 2 tournaments in the Caribbean that we need to focus on in the next 2 to 3 years to develop our schoolboys and schoolgirls and then bring them to the level of the youth, and then we will start to produce elite athletes.
All right.
This is what, but we cannot have a tournament, and I'm not knocking anybody. When you have 1 Caribbean Championships a year, and you have schoolboys, juniors, youths, and elite in the same tournament, it's too big a tournament for the Caribbean to carry. So we have to develop our athletes on a different, we have to take a different road in going forward.
Thank you again, Mr. Forde. Right.
And
if you can
I just want to add to that, and please give me the chance.
Yes, you will. I just want to tell Forde to mute.
Coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And the need for coaches to, be of their best. But also, it's about administrators too. Right? So it has to be an all-encompassing thing, whereby we look at the administrators, we look at the coaches, we look at the athletes, and we look at government, where our funding, and private sector too, but government most for funding.
All right, gentlemen, we're going on our next break. And
Hi, I am Nigel. Quote Me Today is your daily motivational segment to start your day right. Join me Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. right here on NCBN. Remember, wake up with a smile. Today is your day.
That's why when we festin', we just bed God when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinkin', man a strong rum, eh? Pop a bottle right now when we festin', we just bed God when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinkin', man a strong rum, eh? Pop a bottle, push up your hand.
I'm Steve David, and I'm your host. Today I talk football as usual, and I have with me Linda Bramble, welcome to the segment. Michael Ragunat, welcome to the set. Instead George Jefferson, George Anthony Clark, welcome to the set. That's Dwight Delion. The president of the SSFL, Mariri Gonzalez. Mariri, welcome to the set. Leroy Delion, welcome to the set, Leroy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night, and NCBNTT, thanks for the opportunity.
And we are back. And wonderful to have my guests back. I would like to start off this segment with David Christopher, president of St. Lucia. You also have a development program going on in St. Lucia, and you have taken the step of having a Q1 coach direct your program. Do you think that in this regard you let's say, are hoping to receive, to reap better rewards than your Caribbean counterparts without this Cuban coach?
Let me just put a 2 cents in what Mr. Ninvale and Uncle Cecil just said a while ago, together with Richard. We definitely need to revisit our approach. Steve spoke about the government intervention. 6 weeks ago, we had all the ministers of sports from the OECS here in St. Lucia at the 4 days ministers conference speaking on sports, because sports kind of fall off in the OECS, which is the organizing state of Eastern Caribbean, and they're trying to bring back that OECS sports. Boxing will be used as the guinea pig or a yardstick next month, bringing back sports in the Eastern Caribbean. We had a few meetings with them last week where we explained to them that the boxing family supports the OECS in a big way. That's why we put in that line invitational. So they form a part of what OECS is trying to do. All invitation was sent out from the desk of the Governor General of the OECS. And we would like to see the Caribbean, the other part of the Caribbean, which is not OECS, have that kind of sit-in, as Steve mentioned. If we can get the other governments to do the same thing like what the OECS did, and speak of sports, not only boxing, sports, I think we can save some lives, because presently right now, we have a lot of ills affecting us, especially here in St. Lucia and Trinidad and Tobago with the 6 and 7. And we keep saying it's not 6 or 7, it's 1. We have to be 1. So we have programs, we have the US aid, you have a lot of these government institutions have big funding they're trying to use to help out the youths get conflict in the law. They will spend all the money, but they must have conflict with the law. This is what one of the Oasis is saying, because they have funding from the European government to help out sports, boxers, or any person involved in sports that have problem with the law or trouble in school. And we need to spread this information and share with our brothers and sisters so we can work together as one. So we can eradicate 6 and 7, because 6 and 7 is destroying the youths them, and these youths is youth that we can save in the Caribbean. Could be good boxers or good athletes or good cricketers or good footballers. You see? So we definitely need to work together, share our resources, share our information, and we're going to see those countries who will be coming here for the OECS boxing tournament in July month 10. They will have a force and experience of what the OECS and the Governor General is trying to do with sports. Back to what you were saying there, Beck, a while ago, the Cuban coaches is doing a good job. I think the work ethics of the Cuban coach is different from our coaches, the Caribbean coaches. Our Caribbean coaches, yes, they might have the natural talent and they have the know-how, but the Cuban coaches, they live what they do. The dedication and the commitment and the time, they put everything into what they're doing. And those of us who had experience with this Cuban coach would know their work ethics and the determination for success. We had, this is our third Cuban coach. We have Ronaldo Torrido, we have George Gonzalez, and right now we have Junior Abatina. He's a very, very good guy. He's part of a program in the south of the island, where presently right now in St. Lucia, had the country on siege. The amount of killing, children, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, guns down there was like Ukraine. And this guy could have achieved over 30-something young boys who could have been busting guns in a gym, preparing them as some of the top boxers we have right now, rivaling the Castries gym. The Viewfort boxers is rivaling the Castries gym. Some of them was in Guyana. You saw some of them of yourself, Beck, and you saw what the Cuban coach is doing with them. You had conversation with that Cuban coach, and I think it's good for sports. The hands in gloves, not on guns. We're trying to work with that right now. We are one. We're not 6 nor 7. There's another program coming up where we're trying to get these agents to spend money and bring in athletes from different countries. It's on the table. It's in the incubation right now. Soon as it brought out, we'll let you know what's going on. But it's good to have these foreign coaches who dedicated and put in the work and training the dynamics of boxing, because boxing is not just training in the afternoon. You have to have the attitude, you know, so you could develop altitude. You have to have the commitment, you know. You have to have self-confidence, and this is what these Cubans does to these boxers. Teach them the lifestyle of sports, you know. So it's very, very good having Cuban coach, and I think our local coach need to understudy this, what we're doing right now, understudy what these Cubans doing. Work closely with them. It's not a competition. They come in on a contract, sometimes 2 years, 3 years. You have to learn as much as possible from these Cubans, because when they finish, they go back to their country. They're going back with all the expertise, so we have to try to gravitate and learn as much as a sponge, suck up what we can, you know, observe from these Cubans.
Yeah.
That's the way forward right now. But we were fortunate to have the Cuban coach here with us, and we try to develop our program. We have over close to 80, 90 young boys in the program, and we try to develop our program as much as possible. So in the next cycle, we can produce some good boxers, champions, and better citizens. As Mr. Forde mentioned, the Champion is a tournament we model off of Steve tournament in Guyana schoolboys, where young boxers could come, as Mr. Forde said, and get to evolve themselves, get to box, and prepare to be elites. But these tournaments is the development tournaments, so we can keep developing tournaments.
All right, wonderful. Wonderful, Shakes. That's great to hear. And like I said, why I brought it up is because I saw your program and I thought it was quite good. Richard, this is the last segment, gentlemen. We have some minutes. Richard, what is your plan forward? We could make our comments short, but what's your plans going forward?
Thanks for the insight there, Shakes. Good information sharing actually coming from everybody. Our plans going forward basically is to, we're looking to have a cadre of boxers, elite boxers, who will be actually full-time athletes, full-time boxers, so to speak. We're also looking to source the funding so that they not only have funds for training, but also for basic needs as well. Along with that, we started a school program. We're trying to get our boxers in early. So we're going into the high schools and tapping into the from 12 and up to get the boxers in early. As an estimate was done some time back when I was doing the sports management course, that actually takes about $2 million to get a boxer in a period of 8 years. To get a boxer, if he does well, if he's exceptional, to get to the podium. Not necessarily win a gold medal, but get to the podium in the Olympics. $2 million. So that just gives you a gauge of the kind, that's one athlete. Gauge the kind of funds we're looking at. We're also looking to bring more female into our program, into boxing altogether, not just as athletes, but as administrators, coaches, doctors. So we've sourcing funding through Pan Am Sports, through our NOC as well, for a program to bring more females into the sport. Boxing.
All right, wonderful.
But that full-time, having those athletes working full-time, which was one of the challenges that we've been having for years, where boxers don't have the time off, don't get time off from work to come and train one. By the time they get home after work, they're too tired to train, so they can't get at least the minimum of 2 training sessions. So those are the plans going forward.
All right, great. Daniel, you are back on your feet now, and you told us that you have so many athletes. The only thing you have travel problems and things like that. What's your plans going forward?
Well, our plans now, we're pretty much waiting for this Kenyan military force to come down to Haiti, which the USA has kind of approved the finances for that. But what we've done in the process is I found a location where on the south side of Haiti where we can really house the elite boxers and the ones that we feel have the capacity to go to the Olympics or to these different tournaments. So now we've kind of found a location where we can house them. We have an Olympic Center, but unfortunately it's in the middle of the hot zone, which you was able to see, Mr. Beckles, but unfortunately we can't even drive through there anymore. But now we found a location on the south side where it's remote. We can get to it, we can fly there, we can bring our top athletes there, so we really focus on training these athletes because our main focus has been trying to develop the boxers in Haiti. We have the diaspora, and we have plenty of those guys that are there on the diaspora, but our main focus is developing the boxing within the country. And, to touch on Mr. Ninvale, what he was saying about the government aspect, that's very key. That's been one of the major issues with Haiti is the government. Our government hasn't been in place since 2016. So really, it's been the Olympic Committee that has been funding, has been doing things in the private sector. But unfortunately, because of the instability and insecurity in Haiti, it's hard to find the sponsorship, the funding, and things of that nature. But while I've been sick, I've been able to make the phone calls and things needed so we can get the sponsorship, so we can get this headquarters going. We have a couple Cuban coaches down there. One was from St. Lucia, Mr. Coach, I forgot his name. He was in St. Lucia, he came to Haiti, I think he's back. But our plan is to try to develop this program so we can have a future.
Okay, great. Gentlemen, I must mention that on my visit to Haiti, I saw one of, if not possibly the best Olympic center in the Caribbean. I'm telling you, a large Olympic center for every sport, from lawn tennis to boxing to basketball to everything. There is an Olympic center in Haiti that they're not using. And we in the Caribbean don't have an Olympic center in these Caribbean countries. The closest one probably is what? Mexico and Puerto Rico, who have Olympic training centers. We don't. And you guys spoke about governments and things like that. But for me, that is priority. If we are to proceed or we are to progress, we need individual or a Caribbean Olympic training center. And it seems as though Canuck isn't working on that at all. Mr. Ninvale, what's your plans going forward?
Mr. Beckles, are you there?
Yeah. You go right ahead.
You think we lose him, Steve?
No, still here.
Well, I just want to say, I just need to touch on maybe 3 topics because I know that time is running out. Now, as it relates to the question that the colleague from Barbados and my colleague from Haiti asked about what is it in it for the future. On Guyana side, we are investing heavily on our nursery. That is our main focus right now. There's a program called the Mike Paris, a program called the Michael Paris Pepsi on the 16 program. And as I said before, we have that sometimes twice a month. And that's because our focus is on making sure that we have quite a sturdy nursery. Also,
Wi-Fi. No internet. Nigel Coutier, no internet. That's nice. I put on mine.
This is not the only major international boxing tournament in the world. But then, you know, it's fragmentation because of the fact that if you have 22 federations and you have 9 going one way and the 13 are going the other way, then it's a recommendation and a recipe for chaos. So hopefully at some time you'll find it appropriate to have that discussion, Mr. Beckles.
Well, I'm certainly hoping to use this media as
Steve, I think we had lose
a forum.
Once you would not have heard what you were saying, they might need to repeat it for him because he just came back on. He was
no, we got it. We got it.
So you have to repeat what you said here.
Did you hear?
I heard some of it. Yes.
The relationship or lack thereof between IBA and the IOC.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard that.
Yes, and I did answer and I said that I am going to use this forum as an avenue going forward to bring that into perspective and perhaps have a discussion between not just because on one of my programs I'm supposed to have persons from the different organizations coming on and voicing their opinions, probably with some of you guys, because there must be a Caribbean perspective to both sides of the argument, whether it's IBA or WB. There must be a Caribbean perspective, and what we want for ourselves as Caribbean leaders as regards both organizations. So I am going to have that discussion, and I'm going to invite persons from both organizations on the program, along with some of you presidents, to ensure that we have that discussion. Good of you to bring it up, but it was...
Yeah, because that remains one of the biggest hurdles right now.
It is the biggest obstacle at the moment.
At the moment, and people are undecided, they're unsure because of the lack of information as it relates to what is really going on. And again, this can hurt associations. It will.
It's already doing that.
The thing is that just how much hurt or pain are you able to endure as
suffer.
Association?
Yes. We just have like 30 seconds. We just have like 30 seconds, and I assure you that you guys are going to get the chance to come on when the different organizations are on. I already have the commitment of on both sides, Mr. Ninvale. I don't want to say your side and the other side, but I have the commitment of both sides. All right? I want to thank you, gentlemen, this morning for coming on and speaking about Caribbean boxing. I'm hoping that I can get not only you to come back, but also some of your coaches to come and air their view, because I know it's a touchy subject with coaches, and I agree with Mr. Ninvale that it's a holistic approach. It's not just the coaches, it's the administrators and everybody else. But what we need to do, I think, is focus a lot on our coaching, on our tactics, and so on. So, gentlemen, my many thanks to you guys today for being here with us. Mr. Steve Ninvale, President of Guyana Boxing Association, David Christopher, President of St. Lucia Boxing Association, Cecil Forde, my own president here in Trinidad, Richard Atwell, President of Barbados, and Daniel from Haiti. Thank you all so much for coming and for being with us here on NCBN TV, Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, this program airs Friday nights at 8 p.m. on your favorite television station, NCBNTT. See you guys there, and thanks so much for coming, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.